Can you brew mead in any kind of container? And what's the best material for these containers? Glass or plastic? And what about those weird airlock things that you can see sticking out the top of the fermenting vessels? Strap in, it's time to learn about fermenting vessels and airlocks. Just like how extroverts need other people, ambition needs discipline, and how I need to post videos online for validation, mead needs somewhere to ferment. We call the places that mead ferments fermentation vessels. These come in a variety of shapes, sizes, and even materials, so let's go over some of the common ones you might be using. Firstly, we have plastic buckets. These range in size from small 1 or 2 litre ones all the way up to 30, 40, or even 60 litres. Now I actually have here a 30 litre bucket. What you'll find great about using a fermentation bucket is that they make it easier to mix ingredients together, since you can take the whole lid off and easily sprinkle things into your mead, or use external mixing utensils to aerate, degas, or even rack your mead. I'll be explaining what all of that means in a future video. Buckets tend to be cheaper and easier to get hold of too, so great if you're wanting to brew on a budget. Now, one of the downsides of using buckets for fermentation is after primary, you actually need to age your mead. And plastic isn't a very good material to use, as it can actually impart some really unpleasant flavours if aged for a long time. That being said, I definitely think buckets have a place in a brewer's cupboard. I personally like to make larger batches within the buckets and then split them into other containers for aging, and also to try out different things for smaller batches. Perfect for experimenting. Next up, we have glass fermentation vessels, also known as carboys or demijohns. Now, I will be calling them from here on out half-johns. Get it? Because demi in Latin is half. Anyway, as I was saying, glass fermentation vessels are similar to buckets and come in a variety of sizes, from half gallon, around 2.5 litres, all the way up to around 30 litres and higher than that. In the US, these larger sizes are pretty readily available, but in the UK, I haven't managed to find any that aren't outrageously expensive. So if anyone wants to send me some half-johns, I'm not going to say no. A general trend with glass vessels is that they tend to be a little bit more expensive than plastic, and break easier too. You might want to make sure if you're heating up any of your ingredients, so for instance, as you would in a bochet, more on what that is another time, you want to ensure that the temperature of the ingredients isn't too hot, as it could shatter the glass from the drastic change in temperature. What glass does better than plastic though is aging, like I said earlier. Glass doesn't impart any flavours on your aging mead, especially if you keep your mead in a dark area to stop UV light from interfering with it. I also find it useful to be able to see through the actual sides of the container, because you can actually see fermentation happening. You can also see how much sediment is building up in the bottom of your vessel, and you can look for signs of any potential issues, such as a bacterial infection. Now, there are more extravagant fermentation vessels, such as steel vats, as well as bespoke designs such as the conical fermenter, which I'll just put a picture up right now. They each have their own unique benefits and drawbacks. But for your first brew, I would recommend starting with either a glass half-john or a larger bucket with a few smaller half-johns for experimenting and aging your meads. Now, we've covered all of that. What about airlocks? What do? These nifty little devices do 2 things simultaneously. They stop insects, bacteria, and the general nastiness of the outside world from getting into your fermentation vessel, and subsequently, at the same time, allow gas that the mead produces to escape and to alleviate pressure that builds up in your vessels. If you start fermenting and enclose your must, you'll find the pressure will build, and either the lid will blow off and spew semi-fermented must everywhere, or will explode your fermenting vessel, especially a problem in glass ones. An airlock is essential for these reasons. They come in a few distinct styles, like this one here or this one here, but they both do the exact same thing. When I first started making mead, I thought I'd done something wrong when I saw content creators using different style airlocks to me, like this one. So just in case you have the same doubt, it's okay, they do the same thing. Yeah, they're all okay. You may have seen some videos that have a tube going down out of the fermentation vessel to a separate container, be it a bucket or a cup of water or something else. This is called a blow-off tube, and works the same way as an airlock, but allows for more gas to escape at once. Some types of meads might need this, but they are pretty easy to make yourself, so I wouldn't worry about it. But to start off with, that'll be absolutely fine. One thing to make sure though is that you put sanitized solution in your airlocks to make sure that they actually function as an airlock. So that's fermentation and vessels and airlocks covered. Any questions? Let me know down below, and stay tuned because things are about to get pretty sweet in here. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next one.